Welcome back. Welcome back. You're now tuned into episode two of that channel called Piercing the Veil. Shout out to 3PMD. Shout out
What
to
up?
Canton, Ohio. Shout out to Mansfield. Shout out to Columbus, Cleveland, Akron.
Sandusky, TD, the Mr. Deacon Experience. I messed the initials up, but you know what
It's
I'm
all
talking about.
good. Cincinnati. Stand up. Yeah. Yeah.
Chicago,
Chicago. Yeah. Harlem. Brooklyn. Queens. Stand
boys
up.
in T-Town,
D-Town. Long Island.
Toledo,
North Carolina. Charlotte. Greensboro. Cameron. Sanford. Yeah.
Naptown.
Raleigh. Naptown. Yeah. Indianapolis. Stand
yes
up.
sir.
I want to thank you for joining us again. Once again, I am your host, Jay.Drewz, and my co-host, the CEO, Mr. Football,
It's, uh, it's
Mr.
happening, man.
Mr. Word of God, Mr. Sims Media Group,
That's
Mr.
right.
Entrepreneur, my man, my mellow.
What's happening, King Education? What's up, my brother, man? Let's build. Let's build.
Yeah, let's build. Today, we're going to get into a little of the hidden behind the scenes meanings behind one of our favorite stories. You probably have heard it before somewhere on the internet, but we're going to bring it to you how we do it. We're going to talk about The Wiz or Wizard of Oz by Mr. L. Frank Baum. And I'm going to go ahead and defer and let my man kick it off this time.
Well, nah, really, I want you to transfer the knowledge to the people, but I will say personally, the movie has meant different things to me at different times in my life.
Okay.
After talking to you, it kind of made me look at everything totally different. Later on in life as an adult, but I noticed the difference from the first time I seen it when it was in black and white, and the Scarecrow, if I only had a brain, to the second time I seen it when it had Dinah Ross and Michael Jackson, Scarecrow saying you can't win. It was a lot of different parallels between the two, but the gist of it all is like the book said. Follow the yellow brick road. The paved yellow brick road is about silver slippers and silver and gold and whatnot. We'll get into more of that, but I want to hear your breakdown of it because you have more knowledge of what the author really meant by it. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the floor, my brother. Do what you do.
All right, all right, all right. So let's do it like this. Give me your character. I'll give you the breakdown. You start anywhere in the storyline that you want.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Let's start with Dorothy. Dorothy, we'll get to Toto last because we know what's up. Dog spelled backwards. We'll get to that last. But first and foremost, let's get on Dorothy, the meaning of the word Dorothy and how she fit in the character. And we'll talk about, the breaking away of her and her family, the fact that her mother and father was gone and she was living with her aunt and uncles. We'll do that. But we'll start with Dorothy.
Beautiful, beautiful. So Dorothy means God's gift or gift of God. There are many names that have that transliteration out of the Gaelic and Old English, Welsh, as well as I want to say middle or old High German. Uh, so she's God's gift. We're dealing with God's gift. She's humanity. In this instance, she's representing humanity. Story picks up without real explanation as to where her parents are, but we know she's in the care of her aunt and uncle, and she's somewhere in the Kansas territory. Now we can go into several things with that if we wanted to. Being that the
Right.
Kansas territory is one of the territories that was designated for the Indian Removal Act. So we could be possibly dealing with a deeper nature concept if we want to really dig, uh, especially with the Wiz. They got
Yeah.
her in Detroit. Okay,
Hmm.
also an area highly known historically for the tribes, Huron tribes, the
Right.
Detroit Indians, etc. So, and even Pontiac. So,
Hmm.
but we're dealing with the person, a beautiful person, man. This person, she's innocent. She's a dreamer. She sees herself doing greater things than what
Yeah.
she's currently doing. She doesn't want to stay. In the original Wizard of Oz instance, we're talking about in the Midwest or in the farm country. She wants to kind of spread her
Right.
wings eventually and go out and see some bigger, uh, brighter cities. With the Wiz, we're saying she wants to go from, I want to say, waitressing or what she was doing as a server to going into, possibly being a person that's of known stature,
Right.
famous, possibly, following her dreams.
It kind of reminds me of a coming of age thing, especially with a young lady. She might be real close with her parents, but she has that urge to go out and build her own family, do her own things, have her own dreams, and at the same time she feels guilty, like she's leaving the people behind, leaving her family behind, and things like that. So
Yeah,
her being a good person, that plays on her conscience. It plays on her conscience, and she always thinks that it's something better out there, but then at the same time it's an illusion that it's no place like home, because home is where the heart is. You know what I mean? Just like the American
oh
dream,
yeah,
to me, to own a house with a white picket fence, something that a dead agreement. A mortgage is a dead agreement.
right,
You'll never own it. You always pay taxes. You always have a man to pay, and it's just a dream. You know what I'm
right,
saying? So when I look at the character Dorothy, a beautiful person, of course, we know that her dog is Toto, and basically if you look throughout the whole movie, Toto, the character, can't be captured by the Wicked Witch of the West, can't be captured by anybody, because only time he can be captured is by the love of Dorothy. So she
right.
comes to Dorothy, and she becomes Dorothy's everything. As you said, dog spelled backwards is God. So that became Dorothy's everything. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And in the film, both versions, Toto is her pet. But when you look at the name Dorothy, Dorothy is the gift of God. So the representative of the dog being her protector, her companion, her friend, they go hand in hand. They're not one and the same, but they're connected. There's a
Right.
connection there that can't be broken. So wherever Dorothy goes, her Toto is. Toto is separated from her. She can find him.
Right.
Um, so I found that extremely interesting as well. So let's go to another character. What other
Okay.
part of the timeline you want to hit?
Let's go straight down, just like the story. We're gonna hit the straw man next. Wasn't that the first person she
The
came across?
scarecrow, right? So
Scarecrow. Yeah, Scarecrow.
scarecrow represents Straminius Homo. Straminius Homo is a Latin term, as funny as it may sound to some of those who have the dirty mind or a base frequency of humor. We're talking about the fictitious name that's assigned to us at birth once there's a document that's registered or filed known as the birth certificate. So,
Right.
you
Just
know,
like
or, go ahead.
no, I was saying, like you was pointing out to me earlier. You was like, when your parents, when they spell your name, it starts with a capital, the rest are lowercase. But on the birth certificate, all of them are uppercase. Same as your social security card.
Right. So, correct. So the concept comes from another Latin term they use in legal circles, which is an item sonens, Straminius Homo. Straminius Homo means a man of straw. You're
Hmm.
dealing with a conceptual person, not an actual living being per se. You're also dealing with the concept of item sonens, which is a sound alike name, a name that sounds exactly like yours when it's pronounced or spoken, but could be intended to mean something else by the one who is calling it or presenting it. So, that happens often in court situations where we answer to the name that is not our birth given name by the natural living people who, brought us into this realm of existence. And
Right.
we answer to this name as a mistake, not realizing that we're being considered an individual, which is another form of a corporation. Of course, corporation coming from the root word corpse. So we're
Right.
dealing with something that's dead, uh, conceptually dead or legally dead, not really considered a living being.
Right. You know,
So,
and I remember we built earlier and we was talking about it and I'm mistaken for it as the worker, as the American
right,
worker.
right.
Remember I said because he was up on, he's sitting there working all the time, and that's all he does is observe everybody else have life, and he used his body as a sacrifice, for everybody else. All the while he's trying to convince people that he does have a brain, convincing people that he does have knowledge. It reminds me of a job just over broke. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
and, and
definitely.
then and then I got it crossed with the two because it's a lot different from the original version. If I only had a brain, and
Right,
then to
right.
the Wiz, you can win. And we talked about the scarecrows. Scarecrows are just like all those people who start, that do all that gossiping and always around you, telling you what you can't do and how you can't get off that pole. And you even broke it down how it was different. Um, of he wasn't just up there on a pole; he was up there on a cross.
Yeah. It
You
was a
know
cross,
the
like an iron cross, like
Yeah,
designed apparatus that was hold him straight up because in the Wiz, of course, his legs were weak. Well, in actually both versions, his legs were kind of weak. He wasn't used to being down off of that thing. So
right,
whenever he would get a break off of that thing, he was trying to do what the basics are, like learn how to walk for himself, decide which direction he wants to walk and the style of walking he wants to take on for himself.
right.
And you weren't completely wrong with the worker thing. I did want to share this with you and the audience. He does represent a type of worker, but we're more so dealing with the ones who were originally working for a purpose, and
Mm,
not that others don't work for a purpose. Let me rephrase that: working to take care of themselves, uh,
okay.
not to pay off the national debt, not to contribute to politics as usual. He was scarecrows associated with farms,
Right.
and I had to think about this, after we
Farming
spoke.
industry.
Right, the farming industry, a person who's, steeped their entire existence in agricultural pursuits and
Mm-hmm.
advancing that. But he's reading the newspaper because most in the farming industry, most people who farm, they usually are associated. We think, and this isn't always the case, of course, but anything can always be different. But they're rural. They're in a rural area. They're not in the big city, so they're getting all their information either from the television, the radio. Nowadays, you would say the internet,
Right.
but also the newspaper publications before those started to phase out. And they're not completely phased out now, but on their way out. And they get their information from these news publications. So when he says, if I only had a brain, he's saying, if I could only think for myself,
Yeah.
if I could only have my own ideas, if I could only have my own perception of things, you
Yeah.
know, would these crows really be getting in my head, telling me what I can't do, telling
Right.
me where I can't go, like flipping over back to the Wiz. So now the
Mm-hmm.
crows take on a whole nother adaptation. In the so-called black experience, right?
Right.
Our experience is somewhat different from our other counterparts of different ethnicities, backgrounds, and nationalities, in that we are the one group of people who are constantly been renamed. They've constantly renamed us, even though this at one time was our country.
Right.
And they've even gone as far as to indoctrinate generations of our children and adults to believe that they're from somewhere else. So
Right.
now let's go back a little bit in the timeline of reality when there was Jim Crow law. You had places that would call the balcony of a theater, for example, the crow's nest. And who had to sit in the crow's nest?
Yeah. It was
The
us.
Negroes, the coloreds, the
Yeah.
blacks, right? Those who
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
considered, yeah, so lesser than. And so these crows in the Wiz, of course, they come up to them and they say, sing the crow commandments.
Right.
He's like,
It's
I
just,
don't want to sing that, fellas. Oh, come on, not again. They're like, sing it. And while he's singing it, they laughing and joking and dancing around with him, making mockery of his condition.
right.
Like often we see with our entertainers in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, they laugh at, to me, the worker. They laugh at the person who hasn't realized they just over broke, who hasn't realized, you know, as smart as they are, when they get off, they don't know how to walk. They don't even know about credit. Don't even really know about what a mortgage is. They don't even really, you know what I mean? Don't have an EIN.
Sure.
Don't have a trust fund. You know what I mean? Been
Yeah,
working their whole life, but don't even know how to walk. You know?
indeed. And those things are important, especially when you're dealing with contracts. Like you mentioned, one type of contract in the mortgage, a dead promise.
Right,
Why is it a dead promise? Because it is only one party in that agreement that's obligated to keep up their end of the agreement.
right.
So it's really what would be considered technically as an unconscionable contract because also when you sign a contract like a mortgage, there is supposed to be what's called closing. And at closing, that's when all of the finer details of the agreement are brought to light and supposed to be disclosed to both
Yeah,
parties.
right.
But absolutely, man. So also, when you're dealing with the scarecrow, you're dealing with a person whose head is filled with other people's ideas,
Right.
other people's
Yep. Pulling them
interpretation
out.
of life, current events, political issues, financial resolutions, and problem solving. They're getting all of it from one source or a few sources that are all connected somehow. You know what I mean? So it's someone else telling them what they should think or
Yeah.
shaping how they think on a daily basis.
Mm.
So next in the timeline, I think we would deal with the Tin Man.
The Tin Man. My dude.
Yeah, my dude,
My dude. You know,
slide some
it's,
oil to me.
yeah, and I misinterpret that. I thought it, I thought it represented the steel industry, and and then about the
It,
tin,
it can, it
the
can.
the tax identification number,
Hmm.
that for tin, and then I remember in the Wiz, he was talking about how you get stuck, not necessarily stuck, but you're building a family. So
Right,
you're hard working, you're building a family. I remember he was on top of me was Teeny, his wife. Remember a
a
teeny,
teeny, a
yeah.
teeny.
She
Yeah,
was just sitting on top of him. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
not necessarily like Gil Scott Heron, home is where the hatred is, but
Mm,
the responsibility of having a
yes,
family, you choose a different road than
yes.
than than say the scarecrow. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I seen both of the parallels in that as a worker, as industry, as the tax. It was all balled up in something. So go ahead and kick that true knowledge so so we can
No,
see.
you know what you that I was trying to clarify with our conversation offline was you had some of the aspects of both that do connect, but the main thing with industry was connected to the Tin Man. Even though farming or agriculture is an industry, the Tin Man more so, like you said, he's the robotic steel worker. He's the mechanical line worker in the factory, in the warehouse. And these words I'm using or adjectives are not meant to insult or attack.
Well,
I have employment as such like that coming up. I've worked those in the past. I have no problem with what we have to do until we can do what we want to do in life.
right.
Um, Go ahead. You were going to say
No,
something?
I say I grew
Okay.
up. My
Yeah.
grandfather, he retired from Ford. My mother
Right.
retired from Ford Motor Company, and I know what it's like because all you need to do is be greased up a little bit. You know what I mean? They get paid. They get paid a
Hmm.
little more than the average.
Yeah.
So it feels
Yeah.
like, okay, now I'm greased up.
Yeah.
I can move. Slide some oil to me and let
Hmm.
it trickle down my spine. I can move and I can
Yeah.
do this. You know what I mean? So, and
Right.
it's definitely nothing against it, but
No.
it's just saying, okay, I see that, in the character. You know,
Yes. That's who Mr. Baum was trying to illustrate. The person who gives their all, to support their family and to support that industry, that labor industry, all the while their body's breaking down on them.
Right.
And so you keep on sliding the oil. You keep give me some oil. Yeah, like you
Yeah.
said,
It
I
got
can
carpet
work a
turner.
little bit longer. I can make it to 65, 67, almost 70 years old. And then when you
Mm-hmm.
think about it, it's like if the average person in your community is dying by the age of 83, let's just be liberal, 83,
Yeah.
right? How many years do you have
It's a
left to
big one.
enjoy, what you work for?
Right.
So it's all like you said, a dream. It's a ruse. It's an illusion, but we all participate in it at some point in time until we find something better than the illusion to believe in and manifest. And
Right.
and some people that's enough for them, and that's fine too. Um, those people keep the engine going. You know what I mean? And so we have to be realistic in that assessment. We can't judge anybody where they're at in the story, the narrative, but
Right.
the Tin Man is the tax identification number. He's also the robotic worker who works until his heart gives out or his body can no longer function or he sustains an injury that's career ending, or makes him no longer viable on the labor market. And, also the irony of it is a TIN or even an EIN is how you would, operate a business, begin
Right.
to establish a business in which you would have to have a scarecrow or a straw man to operate under,
Right.
an EIN or a TIN, to operate under and to get established and move forward with your vision or your dream. And so, that's what the Tin Man is. He's the nuts and bolts of society. He's the he or she. I can't leave out the she. That's the person that keeps the factories, going and production moving for that particular industry. Uh,
Right.
so then we come upon who?
We come upon the cowardly lion.
Yes.
So we want to call him that. Now, see, I get two readings off that. One,
Hmm.
I get the law enforcement. I get
Yeah.
obvious law enforcement. The kid he used to get his ass whooped in school, and now he got a badge on, so he puts on this big facade. But then when somebody come after him, bang, 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 124 times, 60 times, 10 times to the face. You know what I mean? Or sometimes, I look at it as somebody who feels like he knows he's a lion but he's hopeless. Like I look at some of these people. They walk around the neighborhood like they kings of the jungle. They shoot, kill any nigga, but let the cops do something. They
Right.
cowardly lions. So different times in my life, I seen different things. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Absolutely.
But I thought it was even to me. I thought it was not night and day between the Wizard of Oz and the Wiz, but I also seen the differences in that too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like we expressed earlier, there is a difference in the experience. We have shared experiences, and then we have those experience. Sorry, I think my audio is. I got to straighten it out a little bit better. But
Cool.
we have those experiences that are not shared. They're kind of isolated.
Mm-hmm.
It's just if someone asks the opinion that the average quote unquote black person has on law enforcement, they would probably be shocked to know that they don't have a negative outlook on them.
No.
Not as a whole. You know, um, and I think most of us, if we're honest with ourselves, most of our individual interactions at times have been normal, regular, or even positive.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's still shocking, even though we know the history of policing in this country goes back to the slave patrols. There's things that we know. We can quote it like it's secondhand knowledge. It's second nature to us. Uh, it's still shocking to a degree because we hope that the overall experience will mirror our average experience.
Right.
And that's what I think we're a people of hope. So oftentimes, hope doesn't do anything but float.
Right. But
You know
it's
what I mean?
it's weird. Like with me, I grew up in the Camp Police Boys Club. A lot of them were my coaches. A lot of them were my boxing trainers,
Yeah.
my
Right.
first boxing trainers. And me personally, I haven't had very many bad incidents with a cop, but it only takes one. It only
Right.
takes being
True.
around one. You know what
True.
I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I hear about all these bad things that have happened. And I tell you, I only had one bad experience, and I was being smart. You asked me my name, I told you my name was Pudding Tang. Ask me again, tell you the same, and you got aggressive. But but no, he did. He got aggressive on the brother. But
Right.
other than that, it's always been um, like I said, I was either learning something or doing something or something like that. It's been several times when I felt like I got pulled over for no reason, but
Hmm.
because everything was legit, it was no problem. But what if it hadn't been legit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if it had been a problem? What would have happened to me? What would have happened to me if I had a bad day and I didn't react the way in a way to make them feel comfortable about themselves?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just had a little laugh there. Okay.
Yeah, you got a power surge.
Yeah.
You know that happened with me all the time, so you get used to it. So.
I'm not unfamiliar with it. It happens with me as well. What do you call it? Appliances sometimes.
Yeah, flickering lights everywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I touch something and the motor starts running a little harder.
Mm.
Yeah, it's hard to explain until somebody is sitting there and like, did that just happen? Like, yeah, it
Yeah.
happens quite often. So yeah, with law enforcement, the cowardly lion could represent the person who needs a badge in order to feel like they can face life on life's terms. Whether it's because their job is dangerous or hazardous, or because of where they live or how they came up, their perception, they want to be seen as, powerful or known for being king, like you said, king of the jungle.
Yeah.
But the scene in the original film, the song they sang was what, lions and tigers and bears. Oh
Oh
my,
yeah. Oh my. Yeah.
lions and tigers and it's like you're watching it and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, you're a lion.
Right.
Why
Why
are
you
you singing and
lions
joining in the
tight?
song? Why aren't you going out in the front of the group and saying, "Yeah, I got this"?
Right.
But because like you said, it's often the person who was ridiculed, picked on, bullied, overlooked, ignored.
Right.
And it's not always that way. Because I mean, trust me, some of my friends that are police officers where I live, they're popular.
Yeah. Yeah.
They, what I'm saying, they were that guy in high
Couple
school.
of them.
They have one of the better, the better looking companion or wife. They're all their kids are healthy. Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Sometimes that's an
Uh,
addiction though. You gotta feel. You got. It's part of being a man. You ain't on the football team no more.
right.
So now you gotta go.
That's how you go and get your
Yeah.
your
Be on the squad.
adrenaline rush. And I respect that too, because without those guys, when there is a serious problem, a serious threat, without those guys, I mean, I hate to say it, but who's going to actually oppose the threat? Who's going to actually,
Right.
match fire with fire when that's required?
Right. That's
It's
why I always say, man, it's your responsibility.
yeah,
It's your
yeah,
responsibility to take care of your family.
your family.
But
Yep.
if somebody was trying to break in my house and I was at work and my son probably maybe try to hold it down, but I want I would want the police to be there to stop it or be there to stop somebody from getting
Hmm.
hurt. It's a lot of times when I seen police kind of save the day on people.
Yeah,
If police didn't come around, somebody was gonna get killed that day. Stuff
yeah,
just kept escalating. Then finally, somebody get something enough to either get out of here or they end up going to jail and they separate the two or whatnot. And we live to talk shit another day. You know what I mean?
true
But
indeed.
but and that's another thing too. I hear about all this stuff that happens, man. I hear about it,
Hmm.
but because I'm in the world, not of the world, I don't really ever be around it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like if it wasn't for the news and it wasn't for social media, I wouldn't even know. You see what I mean?
indeed. Indeed. So yeah, we have that aspect of the cowardly lion, but now another one that I looked at when you deal with the general definition of what a lion is, and I don't mean like the animal, just the animal's appearance, of course, that goes into it, but a lion is one who is known and respected for their craft, or
Human
they're
ability.
known because they're popular. When you call a person a lion, for example, that type of person is usually, they could be an entertainer or an artist, or some type of public figure, even a
Right.
politician. So that was interesting, looking into what that character could be, in the whole narrative, within the whole of the whole. So now let's
Mm-hmm.
deal with the let's deal with the
You do the monkeys, flying monkeys.
yeah, let's deal with the flying monkeys. Let's do that.
That would be the media. That'd be the media. And really what brought that through was the Wiz again with the
Mhm.
song "No Bad News." I don't want to hear no bad news, no bad news. And
Don't
so when
nobody bring me no bad
yeah,
news.
yeah
Yeah,
that
yeah.
yeah,
So meanwhile, she's treating she's treating her workers, you know, like slaves. Literally, she's got them slaving.
right.
More work, more sweat, more pain.
Mm,
But don't want to hear no bad news. So she don't want to hear the truth about herself, because
right,
sometimes the same lips that brings ridicule and rumors will bring the truth
right.
every now and again. Because even we know, even a broken clock is right twice a day,
Yeah.
at least twice a day, right?
And
So
people don't want to hear the truth.
yeah,
They don't wanna hear that damn
especially when
truth.
it's about themselves,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
showing them what their true nature is, how they look to everybody else.
Right.
One of my mom's favorite quotes to me comes from a poet, and I apologize, I don't haven't recalled the name, but it goes like this: Would the gift of God to get to would the gift of God to give us to see ourselves how others see us?
Mm,
And so we took that into account. Um, that in the statement. So live that when you die, the mourners at your funeral outweigh the cheering section.
yeah.
Because it's funny how you find out after the
Shit.
fact in so many aspects of life how people really viewed you, how they saw you, how they
They could,
remember you.
because they won't
Um,
even tell you where you living. Sometimes I see that.
Sometimes,
I see people on dead people's birthday. They get more happy birthdays than people that's living.
and
And
I can't even hear it,
can't even
can't
hear.
see it.
That's silly to me.
Hmm.
But that's just how people is, man. They silly, man. They a lot of times, you know, they love you, but they don't know how to tell you they love you. Sometimes they can act like they hate you because you ain't paying them no attention. But all they got to do is call you. Maybe you might pay
Yeah,
them some attention. Shit.
and sometimes those people play the role of the flying monkey, because
Right.
I look at the flying monkey on an esoteric level, more spiritual level, as chaos beings, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, in dealing with chaos beings or agents of chaos, oftentimes those people become agents of chaos. Let me just put it that way,
Right.
because they're in contact with chaos beings based upon certain actions that they continue to participate in, like gossip, like
Right.
backbiting, like telling lies on people,
Mm-hmm.
and spreading rumors without confirmation of any facts. And
Right.
so they tore characters of the character of the straw man. They tore them apart. That
Right.
represents the name. They're
Yeah.
destroying your name. They're out there
Destroying the
dirtying
name.
up your name.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree
Flying
that
monkeys.
that's hmm they're the
And then
media.
that.
They're the rumor spreaders, the gossipers, the
Mm-hmm.
tabloids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's what the lion fears, because the lion, as everybody loves his persona,
Yeah.
they love to tear him down at the same time. Like
Hmm.
they bring you up to bring you down. You know what I mean? So he got to
Yeah.
wear it. You know, like you said, he got to wear that persona when you go back to the Wiz. I'm a mean old lion. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And if I happen to let you slide, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Things like that. So yeah, yeah. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling how he weaving everything in together. And
Right.
the more that you think about it, the more you start, realizing about life. And then when we go from that, we think about the witches. All
Yeah.
right. Now there was
Right.
three main witches. The one Wicked Witch of the South, who the house fell on, wasn't in
Right.
the beginning.
Yeah.
Uh, Supposed to be. I don't know if she is wicked or what of the South, but anyway, things. Was she wicked? What was her thing? Just the witch of the South, and the house fell on her. The industry,
Right.
the
Right.
corporation fell on the South because with
That
slavery and
mortgage. That
whatnot.
mortgage kind of would.
Yeah, that mortgage. Okay, the house fell on her. Okay.
Yeah, it all came tumbling down on her after a storm, and then
Right.
the new girl blew in town, and everybody praised her because they thought she caused it, and she didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah, and she was wicked because I remember she was mean Eveline or something like that. It was crazy. They was singing. They was happy she was gone.
Well, Eveline was the Wicked Witch in the Wiz, right? She was a Wicked Witch of the West
Okay,
in the
in the
Wiz.
West,
Hmm.
and then we got the Wicked Witch of the Good Witch of the East, right?
Or North, yeah. Glinda's supposedly the good witch.
Okay, okay. All right,
Yeah,
now let's
they
break
don't
the
show us the
witches
witch of the
down.
East. Okay, so they're sisters first and foremost, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
really get into the novel, and you get into the Oz the Great and Powerful, which is the sequel. I don't know if you ever saw that one, but
Nah,
um, so they
done with
start
your
out
eyes.
as they're just sisters, and they have magic. They have these magical abilities. They can cast spells for whatever purpose they focus on. Um, but the first Wiz, the Wicked Witch of the West, before she became such, she fell in love with him,
Mm.
and he was in love with Glinda. So it wasn't Glinda's fault, but somehow a spell that the Witch of the West cast trying to harm Glinda, the Witch of the North,
What?
backfired on her, and it changed her appearance. This is the backstory. This is from Oz
Yeah,
the Great and
I'm about to
Powerful.
say, yeah, damn, where you
Yeah,
get that from? Shit.
yeah. You gotta check out Oz the Great and
I was about to
Powerful.
say, man, I was like, damn, what the hell he see that shit at? So
Yeah,
nobody like none of them.
so
All
because
right.
Glinda was a champion of the Munchkins, she was like their hero, and to her, they were like her children.
Yeah.
The Wicked Witch of the South eventually teamed up with her other sister, who became the Wicked Witch of the West, and they oppressed the Munchkins in Munchkinland. Okay, so they became oppressors, and so when Dorothy blew in with the storm into Oz from Kansas or from Detroit in the Wiz, however you look at it, the
Yeah.
house landed on the Witch of the South, and what was showing was her silver slippers.
Right. Took
You
them
know,
off.
hmm and so the Munchkins took them off her and put them on Dorothy
Right.
because they thought Dorothy represented the savior. She was God's gift, right? She's God's gift that blew in from a
Right.
foreign land and landed in the land of Oz.
Right.
Okay, so let's deal with Oz. Oz. Well, no, let's save that for a second.
Yeah, that's
So,
after somewhere with a rainbow.
hmm so once she put the slippers on, she represented the energy of the Witch of the South, the authority that she had before she became wicked or wayward.
Right. Is that like when the farmers wanted to go and put the silver with the gold standard to give them easier loaning and stuff like that? Because I read my grandfather had wrote back in
Yeah,
the days when he was a farmer. He was they was saying how they wanted to
yeah,
put silver with the gold standard to make it easier to borrow as a farmer. Am I right?
correct. So silver
Okay.
was the secondary currency that's also measured by ounces in the system of weights and measures, right? So
Okay.
currency is supposed to have weight and measure. Anything that doesn't have weight and measure is considered fiat, even
Right.
if
Right.
it's acceptable through the transference from hand to hand. It is not actual money;
Like
it's
USD.
currency.
Yeah.
And so now we get into what this was all about. Dorothy, when she landed with the house on the south, the Witch of the South, she was given the slippers by the Munchkins, who made the slippers, and that made her as powerful, if not more, than the Wicked Witch of the West, which represents the Western system of capitalism, government, power, and authority that's based around those who have money.
Right.
So if you want to see who controls you, simply look at who you can't talk about. And if you want to know who controls them, follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
So the Wiz, who they're off to see, wonderful Wizard of Oz, he is representative of an authority figure that controls the
OZ.
the weights and measures known as Oz or ounces, the
The
international
OZ.
representation of how you weigh
The
and measure
elbow.
silver and gold.
Oh,
Yeah, so in the Wiz, he's a more colorful character, and I don't mean that in any pun type of way, because
yeah.
it's played by Richard Pryor's
Richard Pryor.
in the Wiz, Barry Gordy's adaptation, or uh, so. But yeah, he dictates, what the new currency will be. You know, if you want to be seen in green.
Green. Yeah.
Don't be
Movie
caught dead in
in
red.
red. Yeah.
And so you look, he goes through all the spectrum. Uh, and you dealing with what? Rubies, emeralds,
Well,
sapphires.
that's like war. The Western fiat currency raises and lowers everybody's value, to strengthen them, or
Right,
same with Russia and China and all them now. So you see
right.
with Iraq. So yeah, I feel you.
So now you have Dorothy and her two semi real, semi fictitious characters, along with her uh, bodyguard slash security, who's cowardly, along with her God. And they're all together because they're all aspects of Dorothy's inner self. And they're on this yellow brick road. They're on the gold chase. I don't want to say paper chase. They're on a gold rush, right? On their gold rush towards Oz, towards the Wizard of Oz. They come into a field, and the field looks so beautiful. As they're running through that field, they start to slow down, and everything starts to become a little more and more like, you know,
That
second by
dope.
second movement,
That dope.
and so beautiful, so beautiful. And then they collapse, all except for the Tin Man and the Scarecrow,
Right.
because all the other characters, although we're dealing with those other aspects of Dorothy's person, inner being, the only organic ones are the lion, Dorothy, and the dog, Toto.
Right.
So they're trying to desperately wake them up, and they're not being affected by it at all. Why? Because they are connected to the fictitious form of Dorothy that has no real literal living representation.
Right. Don't
They've
have
been
no earth suit.
separated. They've been separated from from her, and they're trying to wake her up. All of a sudden, it starts to snow out of nowhere
Right.
because Glinda waves her
Pandemic.
wand. The snow comes down and it
Snowfall.
wakes them up. Yep, all these series that you're naming, boom.
Yeah.
We're
Pandemic.
looking at the opioid epidemic,
And cocaine.
followed by the cocaine epidemic, and they go in cycles.
Ooh.
Um, China went through the opioid epidemic before America. They brought it over to America briefly. I want to say in the turn of the 19th century into the 20th century, and then cocaine replaced that. We had Coca Cola. Everybody was doing uppers,
Yeah,
and
it
then
had just
and
got
then
big.
downers. Yeah. So,
Was 1939. That's when he did the movie, the book. When the
hmm
book? When did he write the book?
hmm, let's see. The book.
Cause
The book was okay. Let's see.
baby,
Wizard of Oz,
got
published in 1900.
Ooh.
So, like I said, right at that turn of the century. I mean, and I could go. I'll tell yeah. Let me go there. Let me go there because I want to hear what you have to say about this as well. So, at the turn of that century, we had people emerge on the scene. At the same time, as this book was coming out, we had people emerging on the American scene in our communities that were associated somehow with the New Age movement. So at the same time, you had in the so-called white churches a New Age movement rising, where you had people like Edgar Casey. They called him the Sleeping Prophet, and you had what's her name? Smith Wigglesworth.
Yeah,
Okay, you had people doing faith healing and you know punching evil spirits out of people allegedly and reaching into people in public settings and pulling out goiters and tumors, you
yeah,
know. And I'm not going to get into whether it was real or fake or not right now because that's not the focus of the conversation. But also,
right.
we had Sweet Daddy Grace, we had Father Divine, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, Rabbi Arthur Wentworth Matthew with the command, what later became, I want to say, the Commandment Keepers, but either way, a Hebrew Israelite Zionist movement. Then we had Rabbi Josiah Ford, uh, Prophet Timothy Drew, aka Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We had
Yeah,
all these men and women emerging. We also had, W.D. Fard Muhammad. We had Muhammad Mufti Al Siddiqui in Chicago, the Ahmadi Muslim movement. We had uh, who else? Uh, Helena P. Blavatsky and Pascal Beverly Randolph of the Theosophical Society. So all these New Age people, whatever their spirituality was, these were occult people who moved out of the occult or religious sector into public view.
right.
And so most of them were quite wealthy. Eventually they became quite wealthy off of the service of the people. So I brought all that up to say, right at the same time, where this huge influx of substances, substance use, substance abuse, substance experimentation, uh, within 39 years or more, you had the rise of the Third Reich in Nazi Germany. You had, Hitler's scientists, as they called them, creating drugs like ecstasy and crystal meth where people could stay up at day for days at a time and still fight in battles and
Yeah,
do follow direct orders and
yeah.
function in chaos.
Germany was handing them out.
Hmm.
That's part of the rations.
Yeah. So, this is just interesting. When you look at that time period, it's not it's not unreasonable to think. Yeah, of course, he had his own journals and things that came out. But A.L. Frank Baum sat in some of the meetings with some of the most diabolical members of the elite who were planning out how these things would come about on a world stage.
Yeah,
So for him
neurology.
to take that initiative and say, how can I tell the people without coming right out and telling the people that this is what they have planned for you?
Right.
This, whatever is already in place, okay, it's already in place. Let me show you what it actually is.
Mm. That's deep.
Yeah, yeah. So big ups to L. Frank Baum. Thank you.
Yeah, he did a
Thank you
good
for trying
job.
to warn us. Um, so let's move back into. Uh, we talked about the wizard. We talked about he represents what, the IMF, head of the IMF,
You're right.
International Monetary Fund.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with it, look into it. Find some actual books. The internet is great for quick searches, but
Right.
look at the references that the people who are posting whatever information is on the internet, to find out the actual hard copy data that you can transfer into your own brain for yourself to come out with your own conclusion and understanding. Very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
It's a reason they used the streets of gold with silver shoes to get to eyes. You know what I mean? It's not just colors, and it's a
Build on
difference.
that.
And it's
Go
different
ahead.
too, and it's a
Yeah.
difference too because in the movie, the first movie they used red slippers.
Yeah.
Does that symbolize blood?
Once again, the experiences is different
Right.
between
Yeah, because when you
so-called
go to
black,
the when you
so-called
go to
white.
the Wiz, it's the silver shoes made out of diamonds, blood diamonds. You see what I'm saying?
Mm, okay.
It's a deep thing, man. We got to grasp.
So one of my favorite questions to ask or be asked is, was Glenda really a good witch?
I don't know. She could have, like what you said earlier. I don't want to steal your knowledge, but like she said, like she said, she could have told her. All you gotta do is click your heels and no place like home 3 times. Just like they could tell us in the courtroom.
Yeah.
That they gotta say a thing
You got to
three
repeat.
times.
You got to state for the record three times
Right.
what
And,
your rights or your stance is. I don't want to say argument, because when
yeah.
you enter into arguments, that takes on a different type of proceeding.
And
And go
you,
ahead.
th- you think about when you stand on your square, what do? Click your heels. So you got to stand on your square 3 times. See what I'm saying?
Exactly.
10 toes down on the motherfucker.
Three times, which is what, the third degree. The third degree is
Right.
three steps up into the witness box, the witness stand, right? So when you on the witness stand, you're being given the third degree.
Mm. Like they be saying back in the days, you ain't got to give me the 3rd degree. Yeah.
Yeah, the third degree means they're going to question you.
Yeah. Give me the third
Often
degree.
tried, never denied, willing to be tried again.
Yeah.
Yep,
Mhm.
that's the 3 clicks. So she could have told her in the beginning. If she was going to tell her anyway, that's just my reasoning. Why
Right.
did she tell her at
I
the
think.
end after the Wiz was exposed as a fraud?
I
Not,
think. I think because she wanted her to learn, just like life. It's an experience. We could come into this knowing what we knew as babies, but we unlearn to relearn. That's the fun of it all.
so Glinda the Good Witch of the North, right?
Uh-huh.
She came down. Is that what they're saying? She came from the north. She
Yeah,
came down to help the gift of God and
to
God
God,
to
like the Holy
understand
Spirit.
who they are. Understand who you are.
Right,
If there's no place like home, and you just left home in a blink of an eye when a storm came, right? That means you could leave home at will. So now
right.
we talking about traveling in what?
Multi-dimensional.
The astral
Yeah.
realm, right? Multi-dimensional, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So all those things are there that we could ascertain our own story within a story, or interpretation of the story, as you were saying earlier.
Right.
You know, for the audience, I had to get him riled up a bit. He said,
I'm,
"Wait a
I'm
minute,
always. I'm
this is
always.
how I see it. This is," I said, there's no room for a blanket interpretation or personal interpretation. Rather, this is pretty much solid. I just wanted to get him right, and it worked because he
No,
came
no,
in
it
here,
didn't.
guns firing, cylinders and pistons moving. You know what I'm saying?
nah, but you know me, I even make up my own names for songs.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
even I don't even call it what they call it. I call it what I get out the song. You know me, I got to do my own thing, man. Shoot,
oh, indeed.
it's only
I
one
love
Aaron
it.
Sims, man.
And
Got
that's
got
listen.
got
That's
to be
why
me.
Listen, that's why we doing this. That's why we
Yeah.
doing this together.
Hey,
Cause,
shit.
'cause that's how we roll. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Oh,
is there anything else you wanted to get into tonight?
yeah, yeah. Just to top it off.
All right.
You know the
Cool.
song "Somewhere Over the Rainbow."
Okay.
You know, I think with knowing all that we know with Dorothy Guy's gift, they know that somewhere over the rainbows. That to me, that's somewhere over reality, over your manifestation. I think that's where your eyes is. You can skip all these things by, like you said, if you left home in the blink of an eye, you can get the eyes in the blink of an eye, because eyes is relative.
Right.
So
True.
you,
Absolutely. Because it's dealing with weights and measures of what we call money,
mm-hmm.
which is supposed to be when you deal with real money, right? You're dealing with metals, precious
Right,
metals, gems, jewels, which is what we are. We're liquid
right,
crystals in a meat suit. Nah,
yeah,
with,
pretty much.
condensed carbon,
Even got a crystal or two on.
absolutely, yeah. So when you have jobs being posted, I'll just say this: you have job offers being posted through, let's just say, government agency sites for military purposes that describe that they are looking for people who are willing to share their melanin in order to
Yeah.
be used for weaponization and defense.
Mm.
I
Shit.
mean, who and what are we, right?
Right.
Hopefully, we'll be able to get some of those answers to the people as they tune in. Eventually, hopefully, they'll be able to call in, and even those that we have, jump in through the link.
Yeah.
We'll uncover some of those mysteries within this journey we call life. You
Yes,
know.
sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I enjoyed the conversation today. I bet people didn't think so much can go into the Wizard of Oz. I hope that gets people thinking a little
Oh
different.
yeah.
Another thing I would like to visit in the future, and I know not next show because we don't want to continue on these things. Remember the movie Animal Farm
Mm-hmm.
or the book Animal
The
Farm?
book, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I would like to in the future get into that because that had a lot to say about society, still relevant to this day as usual.
Absolutely.
Dear boy.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So yeah, this has been another wonderful, wonderful experience here with the piercing the veil, where we take you beyond the veil of existence and reality, and we explore some of the deeper meanings of life and life's journey for us all. Once again, this is Jay.Drewz getting ready to sign off with my man Aaron Sims.
Ron Sims.
Yes, indeed. Eh.
All right, man.
We're gonna roll that beautiful song.
Yes, sir.
This is produced by me, by the way. So holla at your boy if you're looking for beats. And my man Aaron is a heck of a rapper, writer, producer.
Shoot, I
Uh,
like to write. I'm gonna start rapping
yeah,
again though. I
yeah.
think I
I
need to
want
say
you
something.
to. I
I'm gonna
need
have
you
to
to. I
say
need you to
something.
hop on some here. You know
Well,
what
let's do it.
I mean? Indeed. This is called Remembrance, produced by yours truly. And we want to thank you again for joining the podcast. We'll see you next time.
Love you to life.
Likewise, my brother. Peace, love, and light.
Just let it play a little bit. I want to hear him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking that I like that bill right there.
Thank you. Indeed.
Yeah,
Peace, love, and light.
that remind me of the old 1970s.
Yes,
When they
that's the
used to
feel.
build on there, keep your eyes on the star, my light in the sunshine, all that. I'm hearing all that. You know, keep your eyes on the star, my light in the sunshine. Yeah.
That's my influence. We love y'all once again. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace to the star seeds. Peace to the universal family. Peace to the celestial beings, terrestrial beings, the extraterrestrials, the extraterrestrials, human family. Love y'all.
Love you to life.